Hi everyone, this is Annie Mead with my 4-H presentation. What I'm looking at here is how to make the best better in Logan County and increasing our membership through understanding membership trends. I do work for 4-H in Ohio State. This is my second attempt at recording this. My first one was 22 minutes. Whoops, 22 minutes. So no one needs to listen to 22 minutes of me drone on about 4-H stuff. So we'll jump right in here and see what we found out about making the best better in 4-H. So the data that I used came from the Census Bureau. I used Tigerline shapefiles, and specifically for Logan County, and I used the county subdivision, which is townships. We tend to think a lot of township sorts of things in Logan County versus census tracts. That doesn't really mean a whole lot to us, but townships are something that we talk a lot about. A lot of our committees are broken up that way. We live in diverse townships. So census data, also the American Fact Finder estimates. I use population estimates, and it's kind of funny to see what some of the estimates were for population. I looked at overall population in this study, but have some ideas for some future studies. So an overview of Logan County. We are the green dot, or the green square. We are surrounded by Union, Champaign, Shelby, Auglaize, and Hardin counties. That was going this direction. We also are the home to the highest point in Ohio, that is Campbell Hill. So everything we talk about in Logan County is the top of Ohio. So our county seat is Bellefontaine, and that's where we are. So this is an overview of Logan County. We've got a backdrop here with a topo map. You can see that Indian Lake is up here in this corner. An interesting note about Indian Lake: depending on when you look at the population of Indian Lake, it can be really high or really low. The shores and the islands of this lake are loaded with people. There are houses from, a few $100,000 to $1 million around this lake. We haven't had the water quality problems that St. Mary's has had lately. So that's Indian Lake. There's not a whole lot of population that lives there year-round. There's a few of us. I used to live up there. So it gets pretty sparse in the wintertime. We do have a state park up here, but what's interesting about the actual population that lives at Indian Lake is it's pretty poor, high poverty right there. I actually do after-school programs at 2 outreach centers there, the Job and Family Outreach Centers. So it's an area in great need. Another little interesting tidbit here, when I say that we have estimates of population, in the 2000 census, this township right here, this is Bloomfield Township, they had a population of about 430, I think is what it was. And now in 2015, they're estimating 122. I don't know if I believe that or not, but there's a tremendous amount of agriculture here. There's really only 2 roads, one here and one, well, 2 main roads, one here and one here. So maybe it is true. I'll be interested to see what the next census has for population for Bloomfield Township. Again, Bellefontaine, county seat. Honda is over here, and Mad River Mountain, if any of you ski, is down here. So that's the general outlook of our, or overview of our county. This you can see a little bit the population a little bit better. So we have higher here. This is along Route 68. So this is West Liberty, again down in here. So more denser area, or higher population in this area. Again, this is the Indian Lake region. It does not count the people who live at Indian Lake though. These are really bright and obnoxious colors because I wanted to see really easily where my people were and where my clubs were. So my clubs are green triangles, and my people are, or my families are blue circles. You can see some clustering here, but not, is it significant? Is it not? That's what we're going to find out. So a few notes of things that I learned during this study. Make sure you know what your address geocoder, what the rules are for that. So our database, our 4-H online database, which is where I got all of my family and club information, it does address verification for us, which is fantastic. However, it changes the names of the road from this, which is how most people abbreviate it, to township road or county road or state road. That's great. However, in the address file, this is the format that it wants. I spent hours and hours redoing this. So plan ahead. Really, if you're going to do geolocating of addresses, read that chapter that we did a couple semesters ago. It's really helpful. 100% of the clubs match, 84% of the families match. The majority of the ones that did not have a match were PO boxes. It is what it is. I was not expecting to get 100%, but 84 is not bad. Also, with census address information, you can find this handy dandy little brochure that tells you exactly what to do with the census data and how to geolocate with it. All of the links here are actual links. It's wonderful. It tells you exactly what to look for. It's all done by state codes, so make sure you know your code, which Ohio I think is 39 and I think Logan County was 91. So make sure you know that ahead of time. And again, it walks you through step by step on what to do. Fantastic. If I remember, I will put the link to this in the comments so you can find it. So the primary data that we have, I can't show you any of that because it is all 4-H family information. And but we used club and family information. So each family has an ID, and each family has to choose a primary club. Family can be members of multiple clubs, but I chose to look at the primary club for this study. So each family has a club ID that they belong to, and each club has an ID. Again, bright obnoxious colors. Looking at the overview here, clustering-ish, sort of here, sort of over here. In my mind, the reason I did this, I see a lot of people from Ben Logan School District, which is this area over here. And in my mind, I thought I was going to see clusters over here. We'll find out here in a little bit that maybe that's true, maybe it's not. So the first thing I did was look at the average nearest neighbor. Whoops, my little video around here. Okay, the average nearest neighbor. So the mean distance is nearly 1,400 meters, which is about 0.87 miles. Okay, and the really good news for me is I don't want clusters in the county. I want it to be dispersed. Obviously, maybe some clusters in here or up in here because those are higher population areas. That makes sense, but it's dispersed, and that's very good. So the z-score 11.8 shows that there's less than 1% likelihood that the dispersed pattern is the result of random chance. Great news. That's wonderful. I'm very happy about that. All right. This map has a lot to look at. What I tried to do, I tried to make a spider diagram. It didn't work out so well. My inspiration, I guess, for this project was the fire station and emergency calls exercises that we did. So I wanted to make a spider diagram with 32 fire stations, if you will, or 4-H clubs. Holy cow, that would have been a crazy mess of lines, but I just kind of wanted to see what that looked like. Sadly, it didn't work, so I tried to make my own grouping, if you will. So green clubs are generally up in here, purple over here, red or pink over here, blue is West Liberty and Bell Fountain. I'll explain these two in a minute. And then browns and blacks are over here. These two clubs, this one's a horse club, and there's no good place. Their members belong over here, or live in families that are over here, as you can see. But there's not a good place for them to meet over here, so they meet at our fairgrounds. This group here also has a lot of kids from this area, as you see, all over. But they are a shooting sports club, and they meet at the Bell Fountain Game and Fish. That's the only place that they can meet. So these two clubs are here in the center, yes, but the majority of the members are over here, so I made the decision to put them in this grouping. So you can see some general trends in this, but I wanted to do a little bit more and see why people were choosing the clubs that they were choosing. Excuse me. So I did an analysis to find the closest club for the family members, and I wanted to see what families were choosing the closest club as their primary club. So 18% of geocoded families joined the closest club location. 18%, 1 in 5 roughly. So I thought it was going to be higher than that. It's interesting to see, though, that the ones that do meet closer to their homes are over in this area. Okay. I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing. You'll see that some of these clubs have dots inside of them. That's because those head advisors and those families may have meetings at their own home. So I thought that was very interesting to me. Again, thought it was going to be higher. I wanted to see too, in terms of relationships to people around them. Again, things closer together are more alike. So is there a correlation between, you know, neighbors, roughly speaking? Do they tend to go to clubs where their other friends belong? Obviously 1 in 5 meet at their closest club, but do other people follow that trend, or do they follow their families, whatever it is? So are they connected somehow? And what I found, the Ripley's K analysis wouldn't work for me. So I don't know what my spikes are, but I used the average distance for 7 neighbors, which was 3,700 meters, or about 2.3 miles. So I started at 3,000 meters and moved up in 500-foot intervals until I got to 7,000 meters. Actually, I went up to like 8,000, I think. And I found that the peak Z-score was at 7,000, which is about 4.3 miles. So it peaked at 2.64, etc. So there's a less than 1% likelihood that this clusters are a result of a random chance. So I thought that was interesting, and I began to think about how our clubs meet, and even my own 4-H experience. And I know that for me, our club had people from probably, I don't know, 5-10 mile radius, something like that. I had friends that were about 7 miles away that were coming to the club. There were ones closer, for example, New Carlisle. There were clubs in New Carlisle, but they came to ours, which was near Medway and Park Lane. So why did they do that? And, you know, were we friends before? Are we friends now because of 4-H? It's hard to say. But for whatever reason, we knew some people, and so we joined those clubs. And I would say the majority of people probably go this way, which is why we see this 4.3 mile cluster. We don't live in an urban area. We're neighbors and neighbors and neighbors, you know, right on top of each other. So 4.3 miles sounds about right. Future studies I'd like to do are studies of population under 18 and how we're doing in terms of 4-H enrollment in those areas. Here's our little Bloomfield Township with 2. And if you remember from the other map, there was a big group right here. I would say that the majority of people in Bloomfield Township belong in this club right here, and the majority of the ones under 18 are honestly probably related to everybody in this county or in this club, but they all belong in that club. So, and they might even be all in 4-H. Other things I'd like to do is focus more on diversity. That's something that we push a lot in 4-H and with Ohio State. So the majority of the diverse areas are, of course, in Bell Fountain. This is interesting. This is Honda. This is the high Asian population here. So finding out how we're doing in terms of enrollment in those different areas and maybe what our racial diversity is. Another study would be income. I push all the time with Ohio State that we may not have a tremendous amount of racial diversity, but we have a lot of income diversity, which is a huge issue again in Logan County. So in terms of the results and implementation, I was very glad to see that we have 4-H enrollment dispersed throughout the county, not just in one side or the other. 18% of the people, so roughly 1 in 5, people have their primary club as their closest club. Finding connections between people also seems to be a driving force in club selection. And, you know, I think that's something that we need to embrace as well. When someone calls our office, our first question to them is, what projects are you interested in? So we can find a club, hopefully, in your area. And so we ask them what area of the county. I think in the future we might ask them how they heard about 4-H. Do they know someone in 4-H? That way we can maybe pair them up with people that they already know. We have a reasonably high dropout rate, and in the nation this is true with first-year 4-H members. They try it out and they're like, not my thing. But I think if we could find clubs where they know people already, they'll tend to join that way. So other ways that we can help do that is have members invite their friends, have more clubs, obviously in all areas. That's going to help, but especially in higher populated areas as well. So sorry for the little 4-H swag here. This is obviously a project that I took on. Not for work, it was for this class and it's benefiting work, but I decided to throw some 4-H love in there too. So thank you all very much for watching. Good luck. I hope to see your videos, and I hope that this one is not 22 minutes long like my first one. Have a good one.